Three, two, one. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It is me, Leader/Reactor. Thanks for being here, checking this video out with me. Lots to discuss, of course, and as you've seen from the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about the Fast and Furious franchise and what Fast and Furious 11 could be about. Before I get into any of that, consider liking, consider subscribing to the channel, because a lot of movies, shows, and just general videos like these are coming really soon. Anyways, so why I'm talking about this specifically, and you guys don't know about it, is the first couple of videos, the first two videos are just me talking about, I think, Fast X, right, the 10th Fast and Furious film of the franchise, the last one that came out, right? That was like a couple years back when I didn't make as many videos. Still just growing this channel out, and of course I'm managing other channels as well, but nothing really focused on this one. I have made a lot of videos in the past couple of months, right? So I'm like, all right, I need to continue discussing from where I left off. And thoughts about this franchise. Oh my goodness. This is a very polarized franchise, right? Where you have multiple different people, right? You have some people who are just interested in the car aspect of it, right? You just have car enthusiasts, just fans of cars, like how they work and all that stuff. So you're more interested in probably the racing aspect of the franchise, right? Which is sort of what the first five-ish films were about. And then you, I guess, have some other people more interested in the action, the absurdity, the nonsense going on in these films, like the crazy stunts and all that, you know. And that's sort of what happened in the later films, right, where it became much more about actions, and where they went from doing illegal street racing to basically becoming super spies, you know, whatnot, and all those things, right? So yeah, and then you also have more some people like me who are more neutral in this place, where I think a little bit of balance is fine. Because here's what I've led to believe from one of the comments I've found online, is that this franchise, the way that it's sort of shaped to be, right, is sort of its natural evolution, right, where it became more modern, and that sort of led to more action happening, right? Because even in the first film, right, while it was most about the racing and the cars and the streets and all that stuff, right, it was very grounded at first, right? Not unlike the ninth one where they went to space, right? That one was not grounded at all. There was a lot more emphasis on the racingness, just the car culture, all those things, right? And it sort of no longer felt like that as we had gone on, right? Even in Too Fast, Too Furious, right? That's sort of where these more submissions became apparent, right? Even in the first one, sure, you had Brian O'Connor, right, the cop trying to take down, Dom's crew and all that stuff because they were stealing CDs or something. I can't entirely remember. It was weird, right? But there was a lot more focusing on just the car life and things like that, right? So I think if you have fans more so of that, then I can understand from that point of view, right? And then you get Too Fast, Too Furious with Carter Verona, and that's where it became still more apparent, right? The natural evolution of this franchise was, we'll still keep the racing, but let's let this more so the action, the heist portion, the missions become a lot more apparent, right? And then in Tokyo Drift, super weird, like this Yakuza Mafia thing going on in Tokyo, but still a lot of racing as well, so who knows, you know? But they were still balanced, right? Up to the fifth film, right? I think that's what a lot of people agree is, for them, their natural stopping point of the franchise, you know? Because 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, a lot of crazy action happening. Sure, there was still some racing, like in X. You had the racing scene with Dante Reyes, right, where they were racing. That was happening. And then in the ninth one, there was racing done as well. I think Queenie, Helen Mirren was there, some racing around there in London. And then in the eighth one, Fate of the Furious, there was some racing at the beginning of the film. Dom was doing a race, but then that race became super crazy towards the end. Furious 7 had a good amount of racing in that. I think even 7 still had some, and 6 still had some. But you can kind of see how, how the franchise is, where you go forward in time, more action, go backwards in time, more racing was still there, right? But I mean, that was just the natural evolution of the franchise, where how do we go bigger from here? How do we make the next one even more insane, more crazy? And it was just question, how do we one-up ourselves every single time, right? And so now looking at this franchise, how do we continue on from here? How do we go next? Where's the growth phase happening, you know? Because every single time they're like, all right, we're making it more street level, more grounded. You guys say y'all want more racing, we're gonna do that. But have they truly ever really done that, or are they just gonna continue to say the same thing every single time? Now here is what I'm going to be wondering, right? Because I could look at the last one, right? That one had this crazy cliffhanger ending, right? It ended off super crazy with, I think, Dom's crew, like, who knows what happened with them. And then the dam blew up. I think the bridge is also not there anymore. And who knows what's going to happen to Dom and his son, Little B. And we had, well, who else was there? Brie Larson doing her own thing. And Dwayne Johnson just showed up at the end, like, what's next? You guys, like, let's be honest here. What are we really doing here? Who knows? And then comes in Fast and Furious 11, right? And here's where sort of the problem is at, right? So we were led to believe at first that this film would come out in 2025, right? I think that's what the original release were saying. There's usually like a 2-year gap between the films. So 2023 plus 2, 2025, right? That is not happening at all. I think we can confidently say that, right? That is not happening, right? So then I'm like, all right, we need more time, right? So the directors, the actors cast, we're like, we need some more time, right? So let's do summer 2026 release date. I think we can go with that. Do like a 25th year franchise anniversary thing. You know, the first one came out like summer 2020, summer 2001. So plus 25 summer 2026, right? Something like that, right? Yeah, that is not happening either. Why? I haven't even started filming yet. You got nothing to show for. Like, what are we gonna do? So then the next idea is like, all right, let's do 2027 release date, right? So that's like a 4-ish year gap. We've never gotten anything like that. And you know the worst part, Fast X literally had like a cliffhanger ending. It's like, what are we gonna do, you guys? It's crazy. So now they're doing like 2027 release date. Who knows what's gonna happen? And I honestly believe this is happening just due to bad planning, right? Like, was the script not done yet? Do we have to like rewrite and rework everything? Like, what's going on here? I can understand y'all are busy, important people. You got like schedules of your own, right? So I can understand that, right? But was this thing not planned at all? And there were a lot of worries and concerns going on. Right? Like, okay, what's going to happen next? We haven't heard really anything official about 11th film of the franchise. What are we going to call it? Fast and Furious 11? Who knows anymore, right? But are we continuing the Roman numeral thing? Or are we just doing the number, just the fast part, just the furious part, both? F11? Who knows? Who knows? But we did get some small official news from Vin Diesel on his Instagram page, where I think he just said, like, the saga's gonna continue, all that. He did, I think, mention a while ago, like, Universal, can you please give the fans the original release date? So all that stuff was going on. And we did get a little video with Vin Diesel, which we're going to be discussing that right about now. I'm not going to be showing the video to all the copyright reasons and all that. I just have the transcript pulled up, so I'm going to be referring to that directly. But the video might be somewhere available for you guys to find and see for yourself. But I'm just going to be discussing what we said quickly, right? Just a brief summary. So let's see what we know about that. It was a funny little announcement, but anyways. So Vin Diesel has said that, as you guys know, we've been working very hard to bring you the finale. And then he mentioned that this culture, our franchise, is only made possible because of the love that you all have for this culture called the car culture, right? So he just wanted to say, I'm so proud of Tyrese Gibson and Cody Walker. Now, quick thoughts about that, right? I think you guys can see where this is sort of going here. This is clearly a Fast and Furious announcement, right? So they were doing this announcement at Fuel Fest, which must be some sort of car convention thing, big car culture, all that stuff going on again. I'm not big into this stuff, but maybe that's the case. Maybe you guys can fill me in the comments below. And maybe this was a good place for them to advertise and market the film. And Vin Diesel said, I was just with Universal Studios yesterday. And obviously you can see what's going on here, right? He's like, do you guys know what Universal Studios is? You know, Fast and Furious 11, right? So he's like, all right, I'm going to make an announcement, right? And I think a lot of people were there, right? Of course, you have the Vin Diesel stands out there who just love the guy and are just super happy to hear what they're going to say, right? So he mentioned that Universal Studios said to Vin Diesel, can you please have the finale of Fast and Furious April 2027, which is like the same month as Sonic 4. It's going to be a crazy time period if they pull that off. So Vin said under 3 conditions, all right? Because he's been listening to his fan base. And he said he asked for 3 conditions from Universal. First one being, when you bring the franchise back to LA. And people were cheering him upon that. Now, I think if I remember correctly, the first film of the franchise, Fast and the Furious 2001, I think it also took place in a lot of street racing was happening around there, right? Even in Fast X and, whenever they do like the barbecue scenes, they're there in LA, right? And my question about this first statement is, how are they going to do this? We've been doing globe-trotting spy missions, going to multiple locations. We literally went to like Rome in the last one, then to like Brazil or Rio or something. I can't remember. We went to the UK as well in the ninth one. So like what's going on here? How are we gonna do that? I'm curious. Like what's huh? How is that gonna be feasible? So I'm definitely curious about that. Anyways, let's keep going, right? The second thing was to return to the car culture, the street racing. Please clap. I'm joking, you guys. Okay, how are we gonna pull that off? We've just been doing spy missions over spy missions over spy missions. Sure, we can do a street race, but like at this point in time, I think it's a little too late, buddy. Alright, and then there's like, oh, you guys want to know what the third thing is? Of course we know what the third thing is, right? You have Cody Walker there, right? It would have been cooler if he just showed up towards the end, maybe, I don't know. Anyways, rest in peace, Paul Walker, the GOAT forever. The third thing was reuniting Dom and Brian O'Connor, right? That's what you're going to get in the finale, right? So that is what he said, right? Big reunion. It's all about family. We're all coming together for the finale of the Fast and Furious franchise. Oh man, that's a lot to take in. I mean, the third thing is probably the most feasible thing they can pull off with technological advancements with like AI and all that stuff, and like sure, VFX, CGI, we can do all that, but the first two things, I don't know how we're gonna do it. Like, I'm pretty sure it might look even better than how it looked in the seventh one, which is a sad film that they had to pull off, because like Paul Walker's character is Brian O'Connor. Super important, super influential. I think people just really loved him, It was like a staple of the franchise, right? And the seventh one was literally like a finale send-off of the character, a little goodbye to him. And they never really said the character had died because they referenced him, like in later films once in a while, but who knows anymore what's gonna happen next. So we're bringing back the car culture, the street racing, sure, and we're going to do it in LA. I guess we could do those things, but like to what extent? Like just do a race here and there? Like how are we gonna pull that off? And pretty much that was like the end of his speech around there. So who knows? I guess we'll have to find out how that's gonna happen. But first, the cliffhanger ending from the last one. I don't know how Universal's gonna feel about this. That's crazy, but maybe they work something out. I guess there's not a script done for this film, maybe, if they're still in the planning phase. Like, are they just gonna write these things in the script? Like, what? What's going on here? I don't know, you guys. This is a crazy franchise, crazy stuff to talk about. You guys can let me know what you made of that. But I'm gonna end the video right around here. The 11's reactor is out. And what you guys thought about this announcement by Vin Diesel and anything about the Fast and Furious franchise. Until then, take care. I will see you guys next time.